I want to talk about the 80-20 rule and how it applies to learning bar chords, and actually to learning guitar in general. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it's also called the Pareto Principle. Pareto, who was an economist, discovered that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the landholders. This principle can apply to way more areas than you would ever think, or at least I would have thought before I originally read about it. Things like 80% of the sales are created by roughly 20% of the customers. 20% of the videos in the video store account for 80% of the rentals. Baseball, I read a statistic that they thought that roughly 15% of the players create 85% of the wins. They found in sports that roughly 20% of the exercises and habits account for 80% of the results. And that's the idea we want to apply to guitar playing. We want to get the most bang for the buck, in other words, to put your effort and time where you're going to get the most results the fastest. When I first started playing guitar, I spent a lot of time doing things that really didn't produce a lot of results. And over the years, I noticed, especially when I started teaching, that students were doing the same things. They were putting their effort and stressing over things that really didn't get them very far. And by guiding them to do things that were more important, we're going to get more results, and in the right order, they made progress much faster. And that's what I want to teach you in this bar chord course, as well as in all of my courses. Now, in terms of bar chords, here's just some of the general areas where you're going to get more results for the time and effort you put in. First of all, a lot of students want to play songs, and I perfectly understand that. That's why you got into this. But it's much more efficient to learn specific exercises, strategic exercises, to get better at techniques than to just play song, song, song. Now, you should do both, of course, but I recommend you put more of your effort on the right exercises at the right time. Here's why. When you play a song, there may be a technique or a chord or something, in this case bar chords, that just comes up once in a while. So you can play a 2-minute song over and over. Let's say in 10 minutes you can play it 5 times. So you get a chance to work on that bar chord 5 times. Well, you can do an exercise in 2 minutes that hits that same bar chord 50 times, and even more if it's a very well-designed exercise. So by doing exercises, you're going to get a chance to work on the things you need to work on in a shorter period of time, much more often, and maybe even more importantly, you get a chance to more easily see what you're doing wrong and to fix it. Because by the time you play a whole song, a 2 minutes, a short song, some of them are 3 or 4 minutes long, you forget by the time you get to that bar chord again what you need to do right because there's so much before and after it. Another area is by focusing on keys in music that are most common, that people use for guitar playing. Those keys are C, G, D, A, and E. Now, the way I memorize that is I start with C and I keep counting up by 5. C, C, D, E, F, G. Might look backwards to you. Then I start over G, A, B, C, D, and so on. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Those keys by far are used at least 80% of the time compared to other keys for guitar. So what you do is you identify the chords in those keys, and you practice the switching between the chords that you're most likely to use. You get a lot more bang for your buck that way than randomly practicing any chord or any changing from one chord to another. And changing from one chord to another is really the critical issue, not just the chord. You got to get the chord first, but you want to work at changing slowly at first between one chord and another. And finally, practicing common chord progressions is a very strategic use of your time and very beneficial. What I mean by common chord progression is the short chord sequences that are used over and over in popular music. So by practicing those progressions, not only are you practicing the right chord movements, but you begin to hear and recognize those patterns in songs, which makes learning songs much more efficient. Okay, thanks for hearing me out with this. This is much more valuable to me now, I realize, than when I first started. And I'm hoping to inspire you a little bit and to see some of the methodology that I'm using throughout this course and all my guitar teaching. Hi there, I'm Tomas Michaud. What you just watched is a short video from my new course, Barre Chords for Everyone. I have quite a few videos on YouTube showing different tips and tricks to help with playing bar chords. If you'd like more help, check out my new course. I'll put a link in the description below this video. This course is the result of 40 years teaching and getting feedback from students on their difficulties with playing barre chords. I know how frustrating this can be, and there's no reason to let this hold you back. Not only will my new course help you nail barre chords, but with 75 videos, play-along tracks, tabs that you can download, you'll get a complete and fun guitar learning experience. Check out the link in the description below. I hope to see you soon, either in the course or in another YouTube video. Bye for now.